Guest on this segment of the morning show is Mr. Fred Lamkey, Superintendent of Mount Pulaski Schools. Mr. Lamkey, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty well in this rainy, dreary day.
I know it. Hopefully we can get some baseball in this afternoon. I know you guys are hosting a regional. I've got a softball game to be at this afternoon. It's that time of year. We got to get these games in or we can't move things along.
Yeah, we feel like we're going to be okay. We got the tarps down on the field, and I think it's supposed to break up a little bit this afternoon, so we should be able to get our regional semifinal in against Decatur Lutheran.
Sure. It's been quite a sports season at Mount Pulaski Schools from what I've heard. What's been going on?
Well, we just had, and we know the successes have happened throughout the year, but our athletic director came to Monday night's board meeting, and he put the numbers on the table. He said this year, our total sports junior high and high school recorded 7 regional championships, 5 sectional championships, 5 state appearances, and 3 state trophies this year, which we have successful programs in Mount Pulaski, but in any school district, that's one heck of a year.
Mm-hmm. For sure. In baseball, I know last year they went to the state tournament in Peoria, and they're looking to get back there. They've got a good opportunity to do so. How about the spring programs?
Yeah, right now we're in target too. Our baseball team is 21-5. They've got to go through some tough teams in their regionals and sectionals to get back to state, but that's their goal. That's where they want to end up being.
Sure.
So they want to improve on that 4th place finish. They were happy with that, but yet disappointed that they couldn't pull in a bigger trophy last year.
Well,
our softball girls are doing extremely well too. I watched them play last night. They're in a cooperative with Tri-City and Sangamon Valley, and they beat North Mac last night 16-1. They'll play Sacred Heart Griffin in the regional championship Friday night.
Oh, wow.
And right now they're 23-2 on the season. So
how about that?
They're a powerhouse.
How about that? Very good. Well, Mr. Lamkey, when it comes to the spring sports season, things are starting to wrap up. What else is on the calendar these days? Anything else going on?
Well, I will give a shout out to one of our high school track members, Cassidy Clark. She's making a return trip to state. Last year she got, I believe, 4th in the discus, 11th in shot put, and right now she's the number 1 ranked discus thrower in the state going into the state meet this weekend.
Wow.
And she's also got one of the top throws. She's in the top 10 for shot put too. So we're hoping for her to make an improvement, maybe bring home a state championship to Mount Pulaski.
How about that? Very good. Well, best of luck to her. Where's that postseason at in its course, I guess?
Yeah, the sectionals have run, so she's going to be advancing. She's already qualified for the state meet, which will be Friday in Charleston, Friday and Saturday.
All right, so look forward to that. Best of luck to her in that endeavor. Again, Fred Lamkey, Superintendent of Mount Pulaski Schools, my guest on the phone. And Mr. Lamkey, any other end-of-year business on your radar? I know graduation. When was prom, by the way, for Mount Pulaski kids?
Prom was 3 weeks ago, and that went very well for us. We had a nice evening. It was they did an unofficial prom the year before during the pandemic, but it was so good to get the kids back to a normal prom setting, especially, these seniors who had never seen one. So we were real happy to get that done with them. But Seth, May's like drinking out of a fire hose for a school. It comes at you from all ends, and it's just been very busy. We've got our promotion ceremony coming up Sunday. And I'm very happy to say we have a small graduating class of 33 seniors, but those 33 seniors have generated more than $850,000 in scholarships going in next year. So we're extremely proud of them and their achievements.
Absolutely. So graduation on the horizon. How about end of school year, like plays and things like that? I'm sure those have been well past, but what was going on there?
We actually just finished up our musical last weekend. We had 3 performances. And all in all, it ended up with more than 800 attendees in those performances. So, again, that's all part of that fire hose, Seth. It's with prom and musicals and state track and baseball and softball and everything else going on. It's a fast May.
Yep, absolutely is, for sure. Now, do your kids co-op for sports like soccer or track and field or anything like that?
Track and field, we don't. The only thing that we're co-oping in high school right now is football with Decatur Lutheran, who we play in baseball tonight. And then our softball team came up a little short on starting this season. So for the first time, we co-op with Buffalo Tri-City and Sangamon Valley. And that's we only had about 6 girls show up to the first practice. 3 of them chose to go to Tri-City. But all 3 of them have been starters on that Tri-City team that, again, is hoping to make a state run. So that's been a good experience for us. Brad Sturdy's a heck of a softball coach, and I'm glad our kids could be a part of this program.
Oh, that's cool. I follow him on Twitter. He's a great follow there. So cool. Nice.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was the head coach over there. That's good to know. But at any rate, Mr. Lamkey, what else is going on as you get towards the summer months? Any like summer projects, anything that you're working on, getting ready for summer? How about those things?
Well, nothing really exciting this summer, Seth, but we are going to put a roof on our 1963 high school. We've had a new roof since then, but it's going to be a roof replacement we got going on. And, we're looking at doing resurfacing of our parking lots at the high school and our playground. But what we've just discovered, we had the bid this week, it's a 40% increase from what expected rates because of the rising oil prices.
Mm-hmm.
And that's given us a little pause. We're trying to look for some alternative ideas on how we move forward with that.
Yeah.
So, inflation, the war in Ukraine, it affects all of us in a lot of places and mostly the pocketbook.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Lamkey, rather than dive into that and cut off the conversation just a few questions or talking points in, let's take a time out and let's dive more into that after the break, if that sounds okay.
That'll be outstanding.
So how do folks, Mr. Lamkey, follow along with all things Mount Pulaski Schools and what you all are doing over there?
Well, we got an outstanding webpage at mountpulaski.k12.il.us. You can also follow our grade school and our high school on Facebook. And then you can keep up on all Hilltopper sports at MPATHDIR on Twitter.
Fred Lamkey, Superintendent of Mount Pulaski Schools, my guest on the phone. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. More to come on the morning show.
Connected.
Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn, beans, and wheat all trading lower at this hour. July corn, 7.84 3/4, down 16. September corn down 16, 7.56 3/4. December new crop, 7.44 3/4, also down 16. July beans, 16.77, down a penny. August beans down 2 3/4, 16.21 1/2. November new crop, 15.16 1/4. Down 9 1/4. July wheat, 12.31 1/4, down 46 1/4. September wheat down 44 3/4, 12.34. July bean meal up 2.20, 4.14 even. July bean oil 81.64. Down $1.85. The livestock market, June live cattle 132.07, down 92 cents. May feeders down 70 cents, 156.47. June lead hogs 104.82, down 32 cents. Energy market, July Brent crude oil 111.95, up 2 cents. I'm Jim Taylor for the RFD.
Warner Hospital and Health Services in Clinton uses the latest technology for positive patient outcomes with a new state-of-the-art CT machine next to our ER. CEO Paul Scarron asking you to find out more by clicking our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
When it comes to fire and water restoration, ServPro of Piatt DeWitt counties is the leader in cleaning, restoration, and construction. Find out all the services they provide by clicking their icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Why would you wander around a warehouse store looking for paint when you could just swing by your neighborhood Ace? In addition to Ace's award-winning service, we have top-rated paint brands. Plus, our color matching technology allows us to match any color. So stop wandering and start painting. Head to your neighborhood Ace today.
This is Brad from Gibson Ace Hardware in Clinton, Illinois. Stop in to see us, the helpful place at 114 North Madison Street, Clinton.
Today's morning show can be heard by downloading the free WHOW mobile app in your favorite store.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. My guest on the phone, Mr. Fred Lamkey, Superintendent of Mount Pulaski Schools. Mr. Lamkey, you brought up a great point that's probably going to be a topic of conversation as I talk with your peers here in the next few months, and that is, of course, rising costs of everything and how it's impacting schools' budgets. You talked a little bit in the break with me about the electricity stuff. We talked before we went to break about some projects because of the inflation, how that's impacting your outlook on those. Just from a day-to-day perspective, how is inflation impacting what just your daily operations? How about those things to get us started?
Well, it changes the way superintendents look at their school district because, previously when you had electricity costs, you paid Ameren. When you had other costs, you just went straight to the people who delivered it. But now we're having to be creative in how we choose to find these things. For example, for our electricity consortium, we used to pay our money straight out to Ameren, and those costs were just whatever Ameren wanted them to be. I got a part of an organization through the Illinois Association of School Administrators called Future Green, and I was able to get onto a 2-year contract that shaved about probably about a third of our cost off of our electricity use. Now that contract sunset in April, but that consortium is now growing to over 400 school districts in 3 different states. And right now it's looking at that's going to give us up to another third decrease in what we would normally be paying on electricity. We have to be creative. We have to look to other sources. We have to look for other benefits to try and keep up with the rising cost of things, so it doesn't negatively affect our instructional program.
For sure. And those summer projects that you talked about, it's given you a little pause because the cost of the materials is so expensive. But how do you balance need versus rising cost? How do you balance urgency versus rising costs?
Yeah, and you just have to prioritize. And right now with our parking lots, we know needed to be we've needed to do improvements on them for years. But now we're going, maybe we don't do the whole parking lot, but we just do the bad parts of it, the parts that are most dangerous. It's just prioritizing. What can we get away without fixing until prices can come down, if they come down? And that's the other piece we're looking at is what's going to happen with the market. It's so volatile. When will oil prices come down? How will that affect asphalt? It's just really a crapshoot.
Yeah, I'm curious about the food costs because, man, I tell you, I'm sure everybody's experienced this, but I can't go to the grocery store and not get out of there paying twice what I was, maybe just 6 months ago. How about food costs to feed your kids? How about that?
Yeah, and that's where we had to get creative. We've gone to another consortium for our food program. We hired in last year OPA, which is a major food. They're not only a food distributor, but a management system for schools. And they're based out of Missouri, but they're in 5 different states. They have thousands of schools. And again, with that, they have this huge purchasing power that allows us to cut our food costs. Whereas if we were operating our own individual cafeteria like we've done in the past, we'd have the inflated food costs because we have no buying power as a single district. So again, we've had to be creative, go to that consortium program, and allow us to find those discounts where we can.
When it comes to costs for fuel to send your buses out every day and send your sports teams and your extracurriculars to all these things, what's the cost increase looking like there? How's that impacting you?
Those things, gas prices are a whole nother story because you have to get your kids to school, you have to get them to events. So it's almost one of those bullets you have to bite. But there is also through the regional county of Region 17 schools, they have a fuel consortium. Again, I keep going back to that word, but again, where the county schools, they buy fuel in bulk and then they issue that out to the school districts in the savings. Now, we are not a part of that right now because in the past, we've always been able to find really good agreements with local companies. But that's something that we'll have to look at in the future as well to see how those prices affect us and how long they stay high.
All right, Mr. Lamkey, how do I get in on this consortium business with you all?
Boy, I tell you just got to keep your ears open and look because they're all over the place. And some of them are good and some of them are bad. You got to really shop the markets out there to find ones that fit your school and the needs of your community.
Yeah, for sure. So sounds like, I guess in a couple of sentences, like how would you describe how inflation is impacting you all? Like, is it as dire as it is for individual families in your community? Like, how would you describe it, based off of, the relative nature of it?
I think you find there's different sections of the population where there's people at a certain income level where it's an inconvenience, but they still have money to buy food. They still have money for insurance and these things. But when you get to certain levels, there are people who are able to put a little money back, able to pay all the bills, that now they're not putting that money back, or they're doing without the things, a vacation or the extra trip they may take someplace, or just even going out of town for something. It's affecting those families in that lower class or lower middle class that they have to make some really tough decisions. And it really gets tough when it comes down to things like healthcare, food, rent, And we got to keep an eye on that, because we have people like that in our community, and we're trying to reach out and do things to help them as well. Like one example, we're bringing the WHOW program into our schools this summer to offer daycare at a lower rate than what they'd get other places. And we try and offer things like that to try and ease the pain where we can.
Well, Mr. Lamkey, in our final moments together, what else is going on in your world in terms of school business? How about those things?
Well, I tell you what, I'm on my way to an ISB board meeting today. Again, just trying to really go for that keeping that power local, so we make our local decisions in our school districts. They're not made for us across the state. I'm part of another group of superintendents that are really making this push, and we're going to keep the pressure on so they know that we need to get that control back. So that's kind of my focus today.
Well, Mr. Lamkey, we always appreciate your time. If you don't mind, one more time, throw us out that information about how folks can keep up with all the happenings in your district.
Again, like I said, we got a great webpage. You can get us at mountpulaski.k12.il.us. Follow us, our grade school and our high school. They have Facebook pages. And then on Twitter, you can get us our Hilltop Sports results at MPATHDIR. That's Mount Pulaski Athletic Director, abbreviated, on Twitter.
Mr. Lamkey, always good to talk to you, sir. Thanks as always for making time for us. Mr. Fred Lamkey is the superintendent of Mount Pulaski Schools. My guest on the phone. Network news on the way on the WHOW Morning Show, streaming to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton.